Hi friends, welcome back to your practice. I am Katie Arnold and today is our full body deep stretch. You don't need any props for this gentle stretch, but we are going to open up all parts of the body, open up the upper body, open up the lower body, and this is going to be a really beautiful practice. Now, if you have not already grabbed my free mindful movement class calendar, the link is in the description below. It is a full month of yoga classes planned out for you that helps you tune into the idea of mindful movement, of where your body is at each day, and choosing a practice to go with where you're at. So worrying less about having this very specific, very structured plan, and more about tuning into where your body is at and dictating your practices based on that. Now, that link is in the description below. If you have not already subscribed to my channel, I would be so grateful if you would. It helps get this out into more people, more places. And the new Soul Connection podcast is at the link in the description below as well. It is available wherever you listen to podcasts. There are versions that come out on this YouTube channel as well. But if it's something where you don't really want to have to think about pulling it up on YouTube, you can be subscribed, just have it come right in with your podcast feed on whatever player you choose. So go ahead, roll out your yoga mat, and I will meet you there. All right, friends, so we will get started for this practice just in a child's pose. So bringing those knees out nice and wide, big toes towards one another, and then let the hips sink down towards the heels, palms pressing down onto the mat. Maybe you take a big exhale out of an open mouth. That felt really good for me if you couldn't tell from that. So see if you can just start to relax. Let go of your day. Let go of any to-dos. And know that this practice is yours. This time is yours. You've dedicated this time for yourself. So can you let yourself be fully present in our practice today? We don't have a specific breathing pattern that we'll be using in this class today. So whatever feels the most natural to you. Maybe a few moments where I recommend a big sigh out of the mouth. But other than that, just let the breath flow in whatever place, whichever way feels really nourishing to you today. So if you want to build that ujjayi, that ocean sounding breath, you absolutely can do so. But that's not a requirement. So if it just feels better to let the breath flow naturally in and out of the body, through the nose, or exhaling out of the mouth. Knowing that this breath is really our anchor point. So when we hold these poses for a little bit longer than we would in like a vinyasa style class, it's not uncommon for the mind to try and wander away. So as it does so, as it tries to do so, can you bring the awareness, bring your attention back to the awareness of the breath? When you're ready, pressing yourself up to a neutral tabletop position. Wrists are going to come underneath your shoulders and knees right underneath the hips. We'll just take 3 rounds of cat-cow. So inhale, dropping the belly, lifting your gaze. Exhale, belly button to spine, chin to chest. Inhale through cow, that heart shines forward, gaze pulls forward. Exhale through cat, spine rounds, pulling towards the sky. 1 more round. Inhale back to that neutral tabletop position, keeping that left hand planted. Inhale, sweep your right arm up and open. And then exhale, thread the needle. Right arm is going to come underneath the left. That right ear comes down onto the mat. And then you get a choice. That left hand can stay right in front of the face. You can walk it forward towards the top of your mat, or you can take a gentle half bind, wrapping it behind the low back. So just maybe you try each on, you see what feels best. Definitely releasing any need for your poses to look exactly like mine. So following my voice as opposed to following exactly what my body is doing. Releasing any judgment if the poses look different in your physical body than it does for mine. Stay here for 3 more breaths. One more big inhale. Sigh out of an open mouth. Planting that left hand back in front of your face. If you moved it, press into the palm. Inhale, right arm sweeps back up and open. And exhale, take it back down to that neutral tabletop position. And we take that over to the other side. So this time, right hand stays down. Inhale, left arm reaches up. And then exhale, thread the needle, sliding it underneath the right arm. Left ear is down on the mat this time. Right hand stays in front of your face. It walks forward, or maybe you opt for that gentle half bind. Tuning into your breath. Taking one more big inhale. Sigh it out. Planting that right hand back down. Inhale, left arm sweeps up. Exhale, back to your tabletop position. Walking those hands forward and just lowering all the way down onto those forearms. You'll notice my knees are still down, and I'm just going to start walking them back until my hips come all the way down on the mat. Releasing the toes, so tops of your feet are down. Shining that heart forward, finding our Sphinx pose. So those forearms are parallel with one another. Palms are pressing down on the mat. And there's this gentle pull of that heart space forward, almost like you're pushing it through the shoulders. Head is neutral. One more inhale. Exhale, lower all the way down. And now extend that left arm out of the left shoulder. Scooch myself back a bit. So extending that left arm out of the left shoulder. Bring that left ear down onto the mat. Right hand is going to come underneath that right shoulder. And we're going to use that right hand to press up and roll onto that left hip. So really getting a nice stretch. This is called an intense shoulder stretch. So you might find it can be pretty intense. So on that left hip, you can either keep these legs stacked right here, or you can bend that right leg and plant it on the outside of that left foot. And then you can really control how deep into that shoulder and into the pecs that you get with this stretch. And if you're finding that this is really not enough for you, start to roll back down onto your belly, cactus that left arm, and then start to roll. And it immediately gets really intense really quickly. So I like to keep my arms straight, but if that is not enough of a stretch for you today, then try cactusing that arm. But know that you definitely don't get that same range of motion to roll as much onto that left hip. That's totally okay. Totally okay. So don't try and push that too far. If that cactus arm isn't available today, No problem. Take 2 more breaths right here. And coming back down onto the belly. And we'll just take that over to the other side. So right arm comes out of the right shoulder this time. Planting that left hand underneath the shoulder, rolling onto that right hip. And then either staying right here or bending that left leg, planting that left foot behind the right. And breathing deeply into this opening. Knowing that that cactus arm option is available here today if you want to progress this a little bit deeper. And this stretch just feels so good to me. Maybe it's the upper body day I had earlier for my workout. I need this stretch, you guys. So maybe you're right there with me, right? If not, that's okay too. We get the whole body here. Take 1 more round. And coming back down onto your belly and pressing yourself back up to that tabletop position. We have 1 more upper body stretch. So from this tabletop position, we're coming into puppy pose. So it's very similar to a child's pose, but it's actually going to go a little bit deeper. So from right here, start to take a big step forward with your hands. And then from here, start to lower that chest down to the mat. And either the forehead can come down. And hopefully you're already feeling that stretch through the upper back and shoulders intensify a bit. And if you have the space, you have the availability in your body and it feels okay today, maybe instead of the forehead, the chin comes down to the mat. And now this is super intense. So if you are not here today, friends, there is nothing wrong with the modification, okay? So bringing that forehead to the mat is instead. Breathe here for 4 more rounds of breath. To press yourself up and out of this, press into those hands and just start to make your way back to that neutral tabletop position. I love a good puppy pose. I don't do that often enough myself. Go ahead and curl those toes under, send the hips back, finding a downward facing dog. Walking out your down dog, pedaling those feet. And we're going to shift into our lower body now. So starting here in this downward facing dog, just walking out the legs, waking up the hamstrings, inviting them to the party here. And start to find a little bit of stillness. If it feels good, you can bring a nice bend to those knees here. Maybe it's just a slight bend. So finding the place that feels like a nice opening to the backs of the legs. And we talk about letting the heels come down towards the mat. And notice that my wording there is really key. So towards the mat. They don't need to touch the mat, but they're moving in that direction. And then I'm pressing into my hands just enough to let my chest press back towards my thighs. So if you were to look up at the video right now, I look like an upside down V. So that's the goal that we're going towards. But knowing, of course, especially if that low back is feeling tight today, bend those knees, okay? Perfect. So inhale, send that right leg high behind you. And then exhale, bend your knee, stack your hips open, taking a 3-legged dog with a twist. So I like to really roll out my ankles here. You can
take some circles with the knee, whatever feels really good to you. Just starting to get into the hips. We have a lot of that coming up here. Take one more round of breath. Inhale back to that three-legged dog. And then exhale, step that right foot through in between your hands, finding a low lunge. And it's okay if you can't step it right through and you have to kind of help guide it up with your foot. And then soften that left knee down to the mat. So keeping your hands framing that right foot, just take a couple breaths here. Feeling that opening through the front of the left hip. Making sure that right knee doesn't come past the toes. So you'll notice my right knee is tracking right over that ankle. Final breath in and out. Start to heel toe that right foot to the outside of that right hand. So now both hands are on the inside of that right foot. That right foot is out towards the outside edge of your mat. I have my toes at about 1 o'clock. And you can stay up on tall arms here in our lizard lunge. Or if you have a little bit more space, you can always come down onto your forearms. We're only here for 5 breaths. So trying to find our edge here. If you did come down onto forearms, first come up onto tall arms. And then keeping that left hand planted, just bring that right hand on the inside of that right knee and gently pressing, not even pressing, but guiding that right knee out towards the right. So you get a gentle twist here. Bringing that right hand back down to the mat. Just start to heel toe that right foot all the way over towards the left side of your mat so that your right ankle is behind that left hand and that right knee is behind the right hand. If you need to take a moment, re-square your hips and soften yourself down. So we're in our pigeon pose. That right foot is flexed, helping protect that right knee. And you can stay up on tall arms or you can lower down onto your forearms, coming into a sweeping half pigeon. Coming back up into those tall arms, rolling onto that right hip, swing that left leg all the way around and plant that left foot on the outside of that right leg. Sit up nice and tall, lengthen through the spine. Inhale, sweep that right arm around, hugging that left knee into the chest, plant that left hand behind the hip, take a gentle twist. So really not trying to take this twist too deep, meeting yourself where you're at today. Lengthen from tail to crown. So like someone's pulling a string up through the crown of your head. And maybe with each exhale, you can twist a tad bit deeper. So using your breath here. And starting to unwind. We're going to play with our legs in the same position, but I'm going to kind of turn and face you so you guys can see what I'm doing here. So right now we have that left foot planted, right? We are going to unplant that foot. And of course I wore black today, maybe not the best choice, but we're trying to stack that left knee about on top of our right. So this is a tough and really deep hip opener. This is cow face, legs, Gomukhasana. So both feet are flexed. Protect the knees. Sit up nice and tall. If you are super flexible, you might be able to start to fold forward. I'm not going to suggest that for 90% of us. For me today, this is super tight, super, super tight. So we're just going to breathe right here. Just breathe. Two more breaths. Start to unwind those legs, planting your feet in front of you, hands behind you. Just gently windshield wiper those knees side to side. Probably feels pretty good after that one. I know it does for me. So guys, I'm like right there with you, okay? All right, so go ahead and cross those ankles. Make your way back to our downward facing dog. Everything we do on one side, we have to do the other, right? So we'll take a couple breaths in our downward facing dog just to reset. And we'll start to take everything over to the other side. So inhale that left leg high. Bend your knee, stack your hips open. Take those ankle circles or those knee circles. And then squaring your hips back with the mat. Step that left foot through. Soften that right knee. And we hang in this low lunge, stacking the left knee over the left ankle. Breathe into that opening. And maybe you'll notice one side is a little bit more open than the other. So just taking note of that, no need to judge. And start to heel toe that left foot to the left edge of your mat. Both hands on the inside of that left foot. Again, stay up on tall arms if that feels good, or if it's available, you can come down onto your forearms. Big breath in, big breath out. Coming back up onto those tall arms, right hand stays down, bringing that left hand on the inside of that left leg and just gently guide it, getting that gentle twist. Gently release, heel toeing that left foot over towards the right side of your mat, finding our half pigeon. So squaring those hips up with your mat. Stay up on tall arms until you really get that squaring here. And maybe if it feels good, you stay here a little bit longer, or maybe you come down onto those forearms. Breathe into any discomfort. You don't want to be in pain, but you want to feel the stretch. So finding that point that's your edge, but without taking it too far. Coming back up into tall arms. Rolling onto that left hip this time. We're going to swing that right leg all the way around, planting it on the outside of that left knee. Inhale, sweep that left arm around, plant that right hand behind you, take that twist. And if you're finding that there's muscles you didn't even realize how sore they were right now, you're not alone. So just breathe into it. Think about visually sending your breath down to those muscles, nourishing them with this fresh air. Gently release that twist. Continue to walk that right foot out. Try to stack those knees. And then you'll notice that your shins will likely just automatically on their own start to pull out of your body a little bit. And that's totally okay. So flexing those feet, the closer in to the body they'll get, the deeper that stretch is going to be. The further out, a little bit more room that you get. So breathe right here. We're here for 5 breaths. We're in this together. Beautiful. Unwind those legs. Plant those feet on the mat. Go ahead and lower all the way down onto your back. As soon as you get there, take those feet out as wide as your mat and just knock your knees in towards one another. And extending each leg out long. Taking a few breaths in Shavasana. Letting yourself rest, relax, recover. Take a big breath in through the nose. A big sigh out of an open mouth. Stretch those legs out long. Reach those arms up and overhead. Nice full body stretch. Rolling over onto your favorite side, finding a fetal position. One more moment here to feel fully supported by this practice, by the ground beneath you. One more moment to find gratitude for yourself for making this time for yourself. Gently pressing yourself back up to an easy seat. Crossing those legs, rooting down through the sit bones. Crown of your head pulling up towards the sky. Inhale, sweep those arms up nice and wide, meeting overhead. Exhale, hands pulled down through heart center. Thank you all so much for joining me. I'm so grateful to share this space with you, to guide these practices for you. And I'm so grateful that you trust me to lead you through this all. Om Shanti, peace. Thank you so much for joining me, friends. Take a moment, if you would, like this video, comment below. Let me know if there is something that you are needing more support in with your practice right now. I would love to be the teacher to help guide you. Have a beautiful day.